Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison, and Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year. Great to see so many people here today. My name is Paul Hoffman and I'm the president of the club. Thank you. Thank you for that. Halfway mark, hit the halfway mark to go, so, and who's counting? We're doing well. And today's meeting is sponsored by Joe Lanus, my good friend, and the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra. Joe, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Thank you, Joe. All right, we're going to open up our meeting by reciting the four-way test together of what we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Great, thank you for that. And please remain standing for our opening patriotic song. Dick Lovell will lead us in singing God Bless America with Peter Gray on his guitar. And then Dick will be joined by Joe Lanus and Casey Elkers to lead us in singing our featured song, Dona Nobis Pacem. So, and following guests, our guests will be introduced by Annette Helmer. So, Dick and Peter, are you guys?
We're working.
Who's on first?
I hold it for the chord. I can hold too.
There we go. Okay.
You're good. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. God bless America.
All right.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you.
Hey, Annette. Happy New Year to you.
You as well. Well, that was fun. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Annette Helmer, and I'll be introducing today's guests. If our guests would kindly stand and remain standing when your name is called, and at the end, we'll recognize you as a group. Thank you. Our first guest is Lynn Wilson, guest of Mark Clear. We also have Matt Vanderloo, guest of Lee Schwartz. Joan Ballwig, guest of Ted Ballwig. Beth Larson, guest of Valerie Rank. And then we have three guests of the Scholarship Committee. And those guests are Demetrius Barnes, Natoya Barnes, and Arlen Kai. Welcome.
Thank you, Annette, and welcome to all of our guests. All right, turning to my number for today, the number is 68. I've chosen that number this week because it represents the number of members who serve as mentors to one of our Rotary scholars who are receiving four-year scholarships assistance from our Madison Rotary Foundation. Our members play a key role in our program and are available to our scholars as they navigate their college years. If you're one of our Rotary Scholar mentors, would you please stand so we could recognize you? And let's give them a round of applause. Awesome. Our mentor recognition transitions into the next item on our agenda. And I would ask all of our Rotary Scholars who are attending today's meeting to please stand if they could right now. So any Rotary Scholars present, if you could please stand. Awesome, thank you. We award scholarships to 25 students per year to assist them during their 4 years of college. So we have a total of about 100 scholars each year that we help fund. And many students are on winter break right now, so we are pleased that some were able to attend our Rotary Luncheon today, and we have a chance for them to meet with their Rotary mentors. I'd like to thank Julie Swenson and Rob Vandenberg for organizing a gathering of scholars and mentors just before today's luncheon. We welcome to all of you, and we also want to wish you the best as you return to your college studies later this month. We also have donors of some of these scholarships in our audience today, and I'd like to thank them for their generosity in making some of these scholarships possible. Thank you. Thank you. I'll now call on Laura Peck, who is past chair of our scholarship committee, for an announcement. Laura?
Thank you, President Paul. I had the privilege of chairing our scholarship committee for 3 years. Very rewarding work. I got back much more than I put into it. Two very generous donors to our scholarship program are Lori and Arlen Kai. Lori was a longtime member of our club who passed away in 2020. She and her husband, Arlen, who is a longtime member of the Oregon Rotary Club, know the value of a college education. In 2015, they set up a fund within our Madison Rotary Foundation to provide a one-time grant for eligible Rotary scholars. Each May, as Paul just told you, we give away 4-year scholarships to assist more than 25 Madison High School seniors. The Chi grant is separate from that, and it can help our Rotary scholars in their final year of college. A Rotary scholar might need to attend one more semester beyond that 4 years, or they may want to pursue a certificate in addition to their degree. Today, I have the honor of introducing the 2022 Chi Family Scholar. Demetrius Barnes received a Milner Scholarship in 2018. He attended UW Whitewater and just graduated with a BBA in finance. He was on the dean's list, and he has persevered in school during some challenging times during the pandemic. Demetrius had to attend one more semester to complete his coursework. So he applied for and received a $2,600 grant from the Chi Family Scholars Fund last spring. He is planning to work toward an MBA in finance and has a long-term professional goal of becoming a certified financial planner and perhaps a CFA and working for a public accounting firm. Hopefully our Rotary Club can help him with those career goals. Rotarians. Yeah, give ourselves some more. Rotarians, as you can see, Demetrius has a bright future due to the scholarship and the Chi grant from our Madison Rotary Foundation. I believe he's starting a job with Northwestern Mutual next month, so he's well on his way. Arlen Kai, was he able to attend our meeting today? There he is. Arlen, would you please stand so we can thank you? These family, Chi grants really make a big difference in some of our scholars' lives. And Demetrius, would you please stand so we can offer our congratulations to you for the grant? Thank you.
Congratulations, Demetrius, and thank you, Laura. Appreciate that very much. Well, I'm pleased to start out our new year with the introduction of 6 new members, as you can see up here, up at the banquet table. And so I'm going to start by introducing Amy Baskin. So would you please stand with your sponsor, who's also her husband, Brian Baskin. All right. So Amy has been loaned the classification of health services and is a director and co-founder of Conquering CHD. She was born in Manitowoc and came to Madison in 1991 to attend UW-Madison, where she earned her bachelor's and master's degree in science and communication disorders. As I mentioned, Amy is married to our club member Brian Baskin, and they have 3 children. Amy and Brian make their home in Park Avenue in Prairie du Sac, and Amy is nationally recognized for her work in patient advocacy and public policy, and she serves as a patient representative on many national committees, including with the American Heart Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, National Quality Forum, and the Congenital Heart Public Health Consortium. She also supports the local activities of the American Heart Association, Department of Health and Human Services, and Conquering CHD. Amy says, being a mother of 3 adult children keeps me the most busy and gives me the most pride, but I love to travel, knit, sing, and hike when time allows. So Amy, please remain standing. And will Laura Hicklin please stand with her sponsors, Neil Fauerbach and James Ty. Thanks, you guys. Laura has been loaned the classification of government local and is director of the Dane County Land and Water Resources Department. She was born in Milwaukee and came to Madison to attend UW-Madison, where she earned her bachelor's degree in international agriculture and natural resources. Laura is also a Wisconsin certified public manager and holds a professional license as a state of Wisconsin real estate broker. She and her husband Chuck have a daughter, and they make their home on Dawes Street in Madison. Laura is a member of the Realtors Association of South Central Madison and the Clean Lakes Alliance Community Board. She enjoys skiing and biking. So Laura, please remain standing. And would Gavin Luter please stand with his sponsor, Melanie Ramey. Gavin has been loaned the classification of education and is managing director for the University Alliance at UW-Madison. He was born in Hampton, Virginia, and now makes his home on East Wilson Street with his spouse, Quan Wan. Gavin holds a bachelor's degree from the Virginia Polytechnical Institute, a master's degree from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and a doctorate degree from the University of Buffalo State University of New York. He is 2019 recipient of the UW-Madison Community University Partnership Award, and Gavin serves on the Badger Anti-Racist Coalition and University Alliance Steering Committee for UW-Madison. Tennis, attending live music events, eating at local restaurants, and playing the drums are among his favorite hobbies. Please remain standing, Gavin. And will Claire Richmond please stand with her sponsor, Charles McClymans. Claire has been loaned the classification of law and is a partner with Steinhilber Swanson LLP law firm. Born in Oshkosh, she now lives with her husband Michael on Sherman Avenue in Madison. Claire has 2 adult children. She holds a bachelor's degree in education from Marquette University and a JD degree from the UW-Madison. Claire is a member of the State Bar of Wisconsin and the American Bankruptcy Institute. She enjoys traveling, and so please stay standing, Claire. And will Michael Richmond please stand with his sponsor, Charles McClymans. See a trend here? Michael has been loaned the classification of law and is a partner with the Steinhilber Swanson LLP law firm. He was born in New Rochelle, New York, and now lives on Sherman Avenue in Madison with his wife, Claire, and he has 2 adult children. Michael graduated from Vassar College, cum laude, and then went on to earn his JD degree from Columbia University School of Law. He is a member of the American Bankruptcy Institute, as well as the Wisconsin and New York Bar Associations. His community service activities include serving on the board of directors for the Madison Symphony Orchestra and as an adjunct professor of bankruptcy law for the UW-Madison Law School. Michael enjoys playing the piano, skiing, and watching sports. Please remain standing. And will Mark Soderberg please stand with his sponsor, Joyce Bromley. Rob Vandenberg is also Mark's sponsor. Mark has been loaned the classification of manufacturing and retired, and is the former director of quality assurance for Malin. Well, I should have practiced on that, Rob. Mark Malincrot. There we go. Thank you, Malincrot. He was born in New London, Connecticut, and came to Madison in 2014 with his wife, Paige Moreau, and his son, Ian. They live on Blackhawk Drive in Madison. Mark holds a bachelor's degree in engineering and a master's degree in applied mathematics from Purdue University. He is actively involved with the Boy Scouts of America and serves as an elder in the Covenant Presbyterian Church. Mark enjoys golf, hiking, backpacking, bicycling, and reading. And so please join me in welcoming our new members to the Rotary Club and thanking their sponsors. Congratulations and welcome to the club, you guys. Thanks for being here. All right, Mike Gotzler co-chairs this year's Rotary Ethics Symposium Planning Committee along with Bob Shoemaker. Mike is going to come up and tell us more about the plans for the February 3rd Rotary Ethics Symposium. Yes, we're going to have it this year. Welcome, Mike.
Yes, thank you, President Paul. Congratulations. Where's Demetrius? Congratulations. Thank you, Arlen, and welcome to all of our new fantastic members. As Paul said, yes, our Ethics Symposium event is finally back. Just delighted. So, COVID did knock us out for a few years, but we're back. So February of 2020 was our last. That was our 20th anniversary event. So this will be our 21st. So as you can see on the screen, thank you, Jane. The 21st event for this fantastic annual event is going to be Friday, February 3rd at the Monona Terrace Convention Center. We are still looking for a few more volunteers. Most of our roles have been filled. There is a sign-up sheet on every table. There's also a sign-up sheet at the table on your way out of the room today. The volunteers we happen to be looking for right now, they're really across the board. It really depends on what you want to do and your availability on Friday, February 3rd. So most of the time commitments are in the 1 to 2 hour range, and it can take place in the morning. It could take place over the lunch hour, and then towards the end of the day. Where we need the most volunteers is at our lunch table host role. That is a role, if you've been part of the event, you probably understand, but in short, when the high school juniors come back into the main room after they've been working through their ethics dilemmas with club members during the morning, when they come back in and reconvene together and have lunch, they're seated at lunch tables. And ideally, we have club members seated with them, interacting with them, asking them how their morning went, getting feedback from them. So we're still looking for, and it's a pretty low threshold in terms of work. It's just a lot of fun. It's a great way for you to interact with some of our smartest, most fascinating, engaging high school juniors from across Dane County. So things are looking up. I want to give a special shout out to my co-chair of the committee this year, Bob. I know you're Bob Shoemaker. I know you're here somewhere, Bob. This was a tough year, to be frank, to get all of the Dane County high schools back in the fold, remind them what this program entails and what we need from them. And Bob and others that serve on the committee have done a great job. We're expecting to have over 200 Dane County high school juniors attending the event this year. So please take a look. If you can help out on Friday, February 3rd, we'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Special thank you to Mike and to Bob for chairing this event. This is one of our signature events of the Rotary Club of Madison. And I know my daughter, when she was in high school, happened to go to this, and she still ranks it as one of her best experiences of her whole high school career. She said it was that incredible. And I know if you attend this, if you get a chance to do it, you'll walk away really impressed with the students that are there, and it'll change you. It's incredible to experience this. So if you get a chance, please consider volunteering. I know they could use the help. All right, Mary Donahue chairs this year's fund drive, and so she's got an announcement. Mary, if you build that anticipation.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Can we start with a little update on where we are? We're close. We're close. You know they're going to keep making me get up here until we hit that number, right? So I would like to start out with a heartfelt, sincere thank you to all of the faces I see in this room who have already made their gift and their commitment to this campaign. It is a critical part of what we do. It is a part of what we do in our community as Rotarians and how we really make an impact on all of the things that happen in the community around us. But there's still a gap here. And I hope when I talk about this gap, I see at least a handful of people smack themselves in the forehead and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't make my gift yet. Because there's still time. We will keep going. My New Year's resolution is to keep at this until we hit that number. But I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need you to make your gift if you haven't yet, to really sit down and consider what this means to you. If you've made a gift and you are in a position to make another gift to help us get to that goal, we need each and every one of us. I'm really reaching out to you very sincerely to ask you to be a participant in this and make your impact. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. All right, since we've been away for the holidays, we've got 2 weeks of birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. We also encourage members to make a gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation that represents their age, rounded up to 100, for our Synergy Scholarship Fund. All right, so this, got quite a list here. December 25th, Gary Tree. December 26th, Phyllis Lovren. December 27th, Carol Trone. December 28th, past President Julie Olick. December 28th, Tom Wenzel. December 29th, Calvin Barrett. December 30th, Brian Chan, who shares, "This year I dedicate my Rotary service to my mother, Peel Chan, who died in Los Altos, California on December 15th. Mom was happy the day I became a Rotarian, and she was my service above self example." That's great, Brian. Thank you. All right, December 30th, Jeff Ham. And this week's birthday celebrants are Charlie Bertu. And January 3rd, our Madison Rotary Foundation President, Doug Dittman. January 4th, Gary Cooter. January 4th, Brad Mullins. January 6th, Justin Hart. January 6th, Chris Kowalski, who shares "Ever Forward," the motto of the 116th Infantry Regiment, U.S. Army, Virginia Army National Guard. January 7th, Matt Darga. And thanks to all of our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. And please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. Thank you, Peter. All right, thank you, Peter. And a quick announcement from our Rotary District Friendship Exchange Committee. They are organizing a Rotary Friendship Exchange team of 10 Rotarians to travel to Budapest, Hungary in April. And we have a few flyers on the back table with more details. You can pick up a copy on your way out if you're interested in learning more about this opportunity. And we have several members in the news, including Ellen Carlson, Dawn Krim, Paul Fanlin, Cheryl Cato, Linda Ketchum, Donna Moreland, and Ashley Quinto-Powell. Time is too short today to mention each one of their stories, but I encourage you to read about them in our monthly Rotary News. I missed something. All right. And now on to our program. Our speaker today is Nic Mick. Nic is an academic and entrepreneur who spent the last 2 decades probing the depths of American food through his work in the classroom, archives, and C-suite. In the past life, he was co-founder of the Indie Food Council, CEO and co-founder of Sitka Salmon Shares, which is amazing, a member of Ernie Meller's 2005 prize-winning barbecue team at the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest in Memphis, and one of America's top food artisans as named by Food and Wine magazine. He holds a BA and PhD in history from the University of Wisconsin and currently serves as president of the 7 Acre Dairy Company. This is a startup farmstead dairy brand and tourist destination located in the historic cheese factory on the banks of the Sugar River in Paoli. Nic is going to share with us what he and his wife have learned from taking a decaying building and nominating it for a place on the National Register of Historic Places and reimagining it for a new audience. We look forward to your presentation, Nic, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way of saying thanks for speaking with us today. And I also wanted to mention that we'll have Q&A with our speaker at the end as time allows. But please wait for the microphone if you have a question. So let's welcome Nic Mick to our podium. Nic?
I've got 22 minutes, and I'm usually kind of long-winded. So we'll see how this goes. I want to thank Scott Forrester, one of your members, who is our PR advocate at 7 Acre. And I'm going to spend about 15 or 20 minutes. Has anybody heard or read about 7 Acre Dairy Company? Wow. Look at that. Oh, pressure's on. We're just an old cheese factory that we fixed up on the banks of the Sugar River and was looking to kind of restore it and reimagining it as a new audience. And I want to spend 15 or 20 minutes today telling a little bit of the story behind this and why this has become kind of one of the coolest things I've ever done, to put a building on the National Register of Historic Places to preserve for the public for perpetuity is pretty cool. But it didn't start out that way. I'll say that much. We love Paoli. If you guys haven't been to Paoli, it's a pretty cool place. It's only 15 or 20 minutes south of Madison, depending on how fast you drive. For me, it's 15. For my wife, it's 20. Or if you want to bike, it's 45 minutes. And it's a place that my family and I like to go. We have kids. We like to play in the Sugar River there. We like to drink beer. We like to eat it. It checks all the boxes for a nice summertime Madison afternoon. And I was in between careers and really wanted to open a pizza place. And I've been thinking all about, this great pizza place. I'd been in the pandemic. I've been kind of locked in my house, and I've just been perfecting a pizza recipe. And I kind of thought Paoli would be a good place to do it, and there was one old building for sale there, and I started looking into the old building, and most of you guys probably know that building. It's on this, if you've been to Paoli, it's on the southeast corner of the downtown, or the northeast corner of the downtown quadrant. So we started looking into this building that was described in various documents as a really great place to redevelop. This is pretty precious commercial tract. It's one of the few commercially developable pieces, large pieces of property anywhere on the Sugar River. This was kind of the story that was told in loop.net for all you commercial real estate folks. And this was kind of what we thought going into it, and I just thought this might be a pretty great place for a pizza place. However, the neighbor had an easement on the property, and I was really kind of concerned about this easement because I needed this easement to make the whole pizza place work. And called up the neighbors, Laura and Phil Roethlisberger, and I said, hey, I'm looking at this building, kind of mostly want to do a little mixed-use residential, and you've got this easement on part of the property. And I talked to Laura, and Laura's in her late 90s, late 80s, Phil in his early 90s. And I just said, hey, tell me a little bit about this easement. And Phil, I talked to Laura first, and she said, you got to talk to my husband, Phil. And Phil came to the phone, and he didn't sound too well. And he's like, that building you're looking at. And for the next 2 hours, he related the most amazing stories of growing up as a dairy farm kid and farmer in Wisconsin in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. He related the story of why you have 10 kids in your family is because you have 10 cows in your dairy herd. And I'd heard that before, but I wasn't sure that was like a real thing. And as far as I'm concerned, Phil confirmed it. He also told me about his relationship to the building that I was looking at. When it was a cooperative of 250 dairy farmers who delivered their milk there, and whose milk was then turned into cheese and butter and fluid milk. And it was a really remarkable conversation, and I have this PhD in history, which I hadn't used in a long time, and it was kind of, wow, here's this guy who's telling me about this golden age of American dairy and Wisconsin dairy, when there were 60, 70,000 dairy farmers all across the state of Wisconsin who were delivering to these little kind of small community factories who were then processing this milk into butter, cheese, and fluid milk. And it was just a really remarkable conversation. I turned to my wife, Dan, I was like, wow, this building might be a lot cooler than we thought, and certainly was a lot more interesting than what it was displayed in any of the Cree documentation. And a couple of weeks after that phone call, I was thinking about Phil. And the lady who we were thinking about, the previous owner of the building, was like, did you hear about Phil? And I said, no. And he said, well, just Phil passed away. And it was for a guy that had had a couple hours of conversation with this person, it was really a profound moment. Because in that moment, I kind of saw this passing of one of the tens of thousands of members of this farming generation who are either on their way out or no longer with us. And I also thought about how it took me weeks, if not months, of due diligence to run into a story like this and to hear the profundity of this factory to Phil. And it was pretty powerful. And I called Laura and I said, Laura, I'm really sorry. And she said, you know, that conversation that you had with Phil was really important, because he hadn't been able to share those stories with anybody that had cared for a while. And it profoundly affected me. It certainly made me think that I wasn't going to make a pizza restaurant out of this place anymore. And it just set in motion this introspection, this kind of introspection about this building, and not only the relationship that it had to the community, but also all of these people who were there that I knew were there that had stories about this building that were just being lost every single day. And as I thought about that, I referenced kind of two things, one of which I do have this PhD in history. And some days it serves me well. Some days I'm like either the best Wisconsin history PhD or the worst, depending on your perspective. But it reminded me of an article written by one of my advisors, Bill Cronin, called Why the Past Matters, and it's in the Wisconsin Magazine of History about 30 years ago. And Bill in that article relates this story about Waupun, which is a book that was published by a lady named Juliet Kinsey, who lived in what is now what was the Indian Agency House in Portage. And Bill relates that story in this article to suggest how this single book and this single story really set in motion the preservation of this really remarkable piece of Wisconsin history, which is the Indian Agency House in Portage, Wisconsin. And in this article, Bill brings up some really important stuff about how these kind of, everybody has memories in their head that, may or may not be true and are at times just kind of, we're losing them both, in our head, but also as people pass on. But it's really about taking these memories and making them into stories. And when you put enough stories together, you get a collective history. And it was that made the preservation of the Indian Agency House in Portage happen. And, I went back and read this article like 10 times. That's that's something with a PhD would do. So I felt pretty good about that. And the second thing was one of my favorite new movies from Disney. And this, we were watching this at about the same time in June and July of a year and a half ago. And, Coco, more than anything to me, is this remarkably powerful meditation on stories and life and death. And the idea that true death happens when our stories stop being told in the world. And as long as people continue to relate our stories, we will continue to live on forever. And these two kind of like pieces of the puzzle really in June and July of last year got me thinking that more than anything that I wanted to do, I had to bury the pizza place. But was this question is, after talking to Phil, how can we take these fading stories and disappearing memories and build a collective history and use this building and these businesses to be the caretakers of that history, of those stories, of those memories. And to me, to relate it back to Coco and Day of the Dead is, to how do we create this ofrenda to 20th century Wisconsin dairy? And it was kind of fun to be able to put this history hat on, which I hadn't worn for a really long time. I published a really ridiculous book like 12 years ago on salmon, and it kind of launched this whole other career of mine. But I just kind of dedicated myself, how can I find more of these stories? And so, I've started going to community meetings. This was the land use meeting, where one of the members of the land use meeting in a town in Montrose, he's like, well, my dad was on that board of the co-op. And by the way, come over to my house. I want to show you some stuff. And he pulled out from these folders the documents of the Paoli Cooperative Creamery Association. And when they redid the factory after World War II to keep up with more butter, he pulled out some of his old milk receipts from his family. He pulled out the old co-op stock certificate that his and related how important this was to his father, to his grandfather, to his great-grandfather, sixth generation dairy farmer in Alvey-Eichelkraut. Started finding more stories. I was able to then start asking the old owner, well, did anybody ever come in here and say anything to you about this place? This place seems kind of cool. You're producing some of the state's best butter. You find out it's producing award-winning cheeses. Was one of the first factories to take fluid milk and sell it directly to wholesalers instead of processing it to cheese. She's like, well, actually, I did have this lady come in 25 years ago. And let me give you all this stuff. She just gave it to me. Luckily, she didn't throw it away. And this was the daughter of the manager of the factory, who was an immigrant from Switzerland, hired in 1932 to build a Swiss cheese program for what was then a butter factory, and set in motion a series of events that made this one of the largest and most modern dairy factories in the state in the 1950s. His name was Otto Tallman. His daughter was Betty. His daughter's been dead for 10 years. Otto's been dead for 40. Here he's in the middle of that photograph. Apparently talked with the very kind individual, talked with an incredibly thick Swiss accent, as did most of the factory workers there. Most of them were one generation removed from Switzerland. I had this guy, oh, there's Otto. I found this. One of the cooler things we discovered was in a 1950s Verona cookbook, his wife wrote her Swiss cheese pie recipe, put it in the Verona cookbook. That was an amazing moment, an amazing story to capture. We're serving it on our menu tonight at 7 Acre. I had this guy show up. Jerry O'Brien. Jerry is a tow truck driver from Belleville, Wisconsin. Jerry shows up, big gregarious man, and relates to me that I was working in the factory one day. It relates to me like, well, my dad was like he was a butter maker here. And I said, well, come on in, tell me about it. And he related the story of the day the factory closed. And I actually have him relating the story of the factory closing on video now. It will appear somewhere someday. I got it too late to Jane, but it's there, and it's pretty amazing because tears came to his eyes, and he totally broke down the day the factory closed in 1980. What it did to the community, what it did to the hundreds of farmers who were patrons there. And this was just, he literally showed up in a tow truck. In his tow truck, tow truck garb. Tow truck drivers, this did not look like a guy that was going to come and break down in front of me and tell me his story as we were looking more at the building. I'll save you LL Bolstead because I got 3 more minutes, but this was another cool story as well. And so what we were able to do over a year and a half, and we just got the approval for the National Register of Historic Places, from the state of Wisconsin 3 weeks ago, which was one of the most incredible moments. But what we're able to piece together through these stories of people who still remembered them was this dairy plant that operated for almost 100 years, was central to the communities, to the farm communities in Rock County, Greene County, Dane County, and Iowa County. It was a story of dairy factory expanding rapidly during the middle of the 20th century, and by the middle of the 20th century, this was one of the most modern factories, 25,000 square feet. As the person that was developing it, I wish it was a little smaller. And it made some of the best butter and Swiss, and one of the stories of LL Bolstead is this plant was producing the best butter in the state of Wisconsin and the 3rd best butter in America in the 19-teens. It was a co-op for most of its career until it was bought by Pabst Company in 1955. That bought it because obviously, some of you know, Pabst had a big dairy line in addition to a beer line, but they bought it because Pabst went all in on baby formula in the 1950s, and they needed more milk. So they bought our plant to help facilitate their expansion in Oconomowoc. And we're able to gather all these incredible stories from this golden age of American dairy, where there were 60, 70, 80,000 dairy farmers in the state of Wisconsin. There's 6,000 left. And restore them as we restored the building into a new place that we thought would be, as relevant to people today as it was to all those hundreds of dairy farmers for multiple generations over the course of its 100 years of as a dairy factory. And our goal was really to build a business inside this historic structure that really reanimated the space, and that became 7 Acre Dairy Company. And the most important thing to me, and what I think is really cool, is how we're using these businesses. And we've got a cafe, we've got a restaurant, we got a bar, got to have a bar, right? We got an inn, we got event space, and we actually built a little micro dairy with Landmark Creamery where we're making our own butter. So that is kind of cool to me. We've been making dairy products for 3 centuries on this site. And every customer that comes in there can be a caretaker of the building, because what they're able to do and what you're able to do when you come in there is to be someone who will now remember and relate the stories of this remarkable building and this remarkable place on the Sugar River in Wisconsin. So that's my offering to come be our guest at 7 Acre Dairy Company. We're starting to get open here in the next couple of weeks to months, and we really look forward to having you guys visit us. And we hope you appreciate all the work that folks like Scott, I'm just the ham, folks like Scott have done, and the amazing team that we had at Bachman Construction and all of our incredible subcontractors to reanimate and redevelop this building into a place that's going to be this, this ofrenda, our place where these stories are told and retold in a building that at its core is there to be the repository of these stories and this incredible moment in Wisconsin dairy history. I did that in 20 minutes. Thank you. One question time?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Regina Milner, and actually I met Phil. Nate Brand introduced me to him. Nate grew up over a cheese factory and used to do business with banks in that area. And I the only reason I remember is I couldn't pronounce his last name.
Mm-hmm.
But my question to you is, you're opening, are you open now? And if so, would you give us your hours that you're going to be open for your restaurant?
We're sort of open. That's a hard question. Opening up a complex 26,000 square foot cheese factory is not as easy as we thought. Right now, our cafe, which serves breakfast and lunch, also has beer, also has amazing ice cream made from the milk that from a farmer that previously delivered to the factory, the Sarbacher family. We are open from 6:30 to 2:30 every day, and then 8 to 4 on weekends. And then everything else is kind of a stage thing. You can go to our social media, and you can go to our website, and we're keeping people up to date there.
Nick, how are you using this old spaces and in terms of maintaining them or restoring them?
You have to come see it, but what we've done is we've turned about 2/3 of it into an inn, a boutique hotel. We've turned about a third of it into 2 different restaurant formats, so kind of a more, fancy. I can't. I put on jeans for this today, which is a big deal. Kind of a sit-down restaurant, and then a cafe, which is kind of our more casual. And we've followed the standards of rehabilitation laid out for us by the National Park Service to ensure that the historic integrity of this building. And to me, what was really important is to make sure that as people move through and walk through this space, it's so identifiable as a 20th century dairy factory. Yep.
Nick, hi, Neil here, Neil Fauerbach. My wife is big into genealogy, and when she starts looking for something in the morning, I'll come back from doing something in the afternoon, and she's still in her pajamas looking for. So you fall down a rabbit hole. I know what that's all about. She also comes from a dairy family, and we live we live almost on the property that was in her family. Do you have a list of all of the farms that were in the co-op and delivered milk to the factory?
At certain times we do. Depends on the year. Until about the 20s, the state of Wisconsin, man, their dairy apparatus is crazy. But until the 20s, they had a list of every single the milk fat content of every single farm. So up until 1895 to 1920, I not only know every farmer, but I know the milk fat content of their herd, and some were better than others. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nick. All right, thank you, Nick. Really appreciate it. What a great way to start out our new year. I can't wait to come out to see the property. I know that from the pictures I've seen, it's incredible. and what they've done. So hope you guys can get a chance to see that. And I also want to have you let you know about next week. We're going to hear from one of our Rotary members. Chris Kowalski is going to talk to us about the Taiwan Straits conflict and its historical background. And it's great to see everybody here today. Really awesome to see the room filled. So thank you for coming out, and have a great week.